Chapter 7. I'm not attached, says Techno, the big liar. The gap in the wall is actually smaller than Techno thought. He had assumed, with Tommy having gotten through, that it would be about the kid's size, but it's actually fairly small, and in order for Tommy to get through, he would have needed to crawl across the dirty ground to do so. Technoblade isn't sure how to feel about that. Are you sure this is the one you came through? Techno asks, the hammer hanging loosely in his hand as he kneels down beside the gap. He pushes against the wood that had come loose, the cause of an opening in his walls, and he frowns behind his mask as he pulls it away, the wood easily coming off. This one had been falling off for some time, it seems. Maybe Techno should be checking his other walls for weak spots now. Yeah, Tommy answers, distracted with Floof, him and the dog running around in circles behind Techno. Get over here. Come here, Tommy says to Floof, hands outstretched to the dog that keeps running in circles around him. Techno hopes they'll both tire each other out, because he doesn't want to run after a hyper 7-year-old sprinting down the street. Techno watches the two of them run and play for a bit, Tommy squealing as Floof zips around out of his reach. He turns back to the task at hand, and works on repairing the small hole, hammering nails into the wood. The bang of it rings out, and after a few minutes, there's a returning bang on the other side of the wall, slow and joined with an undead groan. Technoblade pauses, listening to the zombie on the other side trying to get through the wall, its fingernails scratching across the surface as it tries to go towards the source of the sound. The wall hardly even creaks with the zombie's efforts, and Techno just gives a quiet sigh, hoping the thing won't linger. It'd be a bit annoying for it to stay there even after Techno's left. Techno glances back at Tommy to check on him, and he blinks at finding that Tommy has gone still. The kid is crouched down with wide eyes, his hand held tightly over his own mouth as if he's trying not to make a single sound. Floof keeps nudging his snout into Tommy's side, and Tommy practically ignores the dog and instead just waits. Not quite scared, but definitely on guard. It's not going to get you, Technoblade says softly, Tommy blinking at him without much of a response. The kid doesn't seem terrified, so that's good. Techno doesn't need to be calming him down, but he acts as if the zombies will be crashing through the wall at any moment if he moves too suddenly. He acts wary. Techno wonders if that's a leftover habit from traveling outside. He's since lost the fear of being heard, and he doesn't ever need to hide, but Tommy and his group must have done that too many times to count. Why wouldn't they? Sometimes, when the horde comes, all you can do is hide and wait for it to pass. Most people wouldn't have the drive to fight it head-on like Techno might. I think it's just one stray zombie, Techno continues, after a solid minute of silence, and it won't be getting through anytime soon. Tommy pulls his hands away from his mouth, holding his palms to the side of his face, but he doesn't say anything, lips held shut. Technoblade looks at the wall, hears the zombie on the other side, and he taps his hammer against the wood, practically beckoning the thing on the other side to come closer. It slams its rotting hands on the wood in response, and Techno's hands twitch to reach for his sword. Habit. We should go back, Tommy whispers across the road, crawling forward to Technoblade, and Techno turns his head back to him. Floof stays close to Tommy, still trying to snick his snout into the kid's face, but Tommy just pushes the dog away and pays it no mind. To the house? It's an apartment, Technoblade corrects, checking that he secured the gap properly, then standing to his feet. And we're all right, he reassures, tapping the hammer against the wall again. Don't do that, Tommy whispers, still crouching down low. You're going to make it want to come in. It's not going to get in, Technoblade says, walking over to Tommy and crouching down to his level, making sure to have the kid looking directly at him. And even if it did, it wouldn't last a minute here. Do you know why? Tommy blinks up at him, a hand hovering over his mouth again, but he lowers it with a curious face. Why? Because I would kill it, Technoblade answers, honest and blunt. Tommy gives a quiet puff of air that might have been a laugh. You said yesterday you've never killed a zombie before. I lied. Techno grins a bit behind his mask. I've killed a lot of zombies to make sure this place is zombie-free. I can handle a few more if need be. He stands back up to walk over to where he's left the box of nails on the ground, tucking them away in his pocket and pulling out the new piece of wood to make sure it really is secure. His back faces Tommy, and he still talks to him again. Where do you think the zombies that used to be here went? It's empty, right? That's because they're hiding. Tommy says, a bit louder than a whisper, but still careful. And where do you think they're hiding? In the buildings, Tommy nods. Technoblade looks at him again with an unamused face. They come out at night, don't they? That's why it's all empty here during the day. Techno sighs, holding back the small urge to laugh a little. He walks over to Tommy and offers a hand to help the kid up. Tommy takes it, Floof circling around their feet, and Techno doesn't comment on the way Tommy goes to step behind him when the zombie at the wall lets out another undead groan. The buildings are empty, Technoblade assures. When I got here, I looked through all of them and made sure to move the zombies out into the street. Then I got rid of them. I killed each and every last one. No, you didn't, Tommy immediately says, face scrunching up into disbelief. You're lying. The city has hundreds of zombies. Wilby told me. Well, Techno shrugs. There were hundreds of them. I killed them. And you probably missed some. I didn't. Bullshit, Tommy sings, and Techno scoffs. You're just keeping them somewhere then. Technoblade pauses, nodding a bit. I am, he says slowly, and Tommy's face shifts into slight surprise that he was correct. Then his face turns into something smug. Want to go see where I put them? Techno asks, already walking towards the direction of where he knows the zombie wall is. I knew it, Tommy says, eyes wide, quickly following at Techno's heels. You were lying. There's no way you killed them all. You were just hiding them. Technoblade walks down the street, smiling from behind his mask. Sure. Tommy still looks incredibly satisfied with himself, and he marches along next to Techno with a smug little smile. Floof runs ahead of them both, and for a moment, Tommy looks like he wants to run along, but instead, he sticks to Techno's side, calling Floof and trying to get the dog to run back to him. The dog doesn't listen one bit. Technoblade takes note of the street around them, looking at the run-down buildings and the few scattered cars that are still around. Tommy's talk of zombies has revived a quiet paranoid part of him, and he rests a hand on his sword, wondering if maybe there could be just one single zombie he missed, just shuffling around in one of those buildings. He quickly waves away the yeah, right. Spent weeks cleaning out these streets, clearing out his home. He knows for a fact he was very thorough with killing off the undead in his streets, all because he wanted peace of mind when he could finally just settle down and sleep. He worked hard to make his home safe. He worked hard to make it so there was no more threat, no more danger of getting bitten or torn apart or killed. He will keep it that way, and he will make sure it stays that way, if not for him, then for Tommy. Because out of the two of them, Tommy deserves somewhere safe. Tommy deserves better, he thinks. Techno wonders when exactly he became so willing to give so much for a random kid. Tommy's really not a random kid, though, isn't he? Now, he's a kid Techno's got to take care of for who knows how long. There's probably some level of care that goes into that. Technoblade isn't attached, though. He's not. Glancing over at Tommy, who's miserably failing at whistling Floof over, Techno feels something in his chest squeeze. Not attached. Right around here, Technoblade says, pointing a finger ahead to the street corner where he knows one of the walls is at the end of the road. Tommy lifts his head with an apprehensive look, a flicker of fear flashing across his face. This is where the zombies are? Tommy asks, grabbing at Techno's sleeve, then his hand, holding on loosely around Techno's palm as he stays walking beside him. Technoblade doesn't comment on it. They're quiet. Yeah, Technoblade actually laughs a bit this time, curling his fingers around Tommy's smaller hand and tugging him gently around the corner of the road. That's because they're dead. Tommy's eyes go wide the moment the street is in view, and his steps come to an abrupt halt, a small gasp coming from him. An entire wall of dead, rotting zombies. They're sorta intact, and completely dead with no chance of coming back, piled onto each other to block off the end of the road. There's no undead groans or half-alive bodies trying to escape from the pile. They all just sit there, killed off months ago by Techno's sword. It's kinda gross, if Techno is going to be honest. He's used to the guts and gore at this point, but that doesn't take away the inconvenience of a rotting body staining his roads. Tommy stands very still, maybe in a bit of shock, and he lets out a little scream when Floof suddenly sparks, making the kid jump and latch onto Techno. Floof, you know those are already killed, Technoblade sighs, Floof still giving a quiet growl and barking again. Go then, look for yourself, Techno says, gesturing toward the wall of bodies. And Floof goes running, barking again and again, before coming to a stop and just growling very close to the rotting corpses, as if he's trying to threaten them not to dare move. He's trying his best, Techno thinks. Floof doesn't like zombies, dead or alive, although Techno doesn't think that it'll be that effective for the dog to growl incessantly at a rotting corpse that won't be moving again. Techno turns his attention to Tommy, who's frowning at the killed zombies with a pinched face. See? Techno says, Tommy looking up at him, arms still held around Techno's waist. How many do you think that is? Tommy's face scrunches up into something displeased. 200. Maybe, Techno hums. I lost count, honestly. Tommy looks back at the dead zombies with a wary glance, tightening his hold around Techno. He's not that close to them, and Techno says they're all dead, but how can he be sure? Before, when he was with Dream, they hadn't gotten too close to the wall with the chance of some of the zombies going after them, and also with the problems of Tommy absolutely refusing to go near it when he realized it was made of zombies. According to Techno, the wall should be perfectly safe, although Tommy still feels hesitant on the way Floof is awfully close to the rotting zombies, growling and barking at them. He's not scared. He isn't. It's gross. That's all. So he doesn't want to go near it. Want to get closer? Techno asks, and Tommy's head snaps up towards him. Eyes wide, he shakes his head frantically. Let's get closer. No! No! Hey! No! Tommy tries to pull Techno away, Technoblade just walking right ahead towards where Floof is. Tommy lets go, standing behind, and Technoblade turns around, taking a few steps backwards. Isn't that dangerous? They're all dead, Technoblade reminds. He shrugs with his hands raised up. I mean, if you don't want to go near it, that's fine. No, I can! Tommy yells, taking a brave step forward, then taking 2 tiny steps back. I can, I just don't want to, is all. That's fine, then. Techno nods. We can go back. No! Tommy refuses. I'm going to see the zombies up close, he insists, crossing his arms in front of his chest with a big huff. Even his declaration, though, he doesn't move. Techno snorts. You don't have to. I can! I'm sure you can. Tommy narrows his eyes towards Techno with his response. I'm gonna! Tommy marches forward until he's side by side with Techno, and he stares at the wall of zombies with a deep frown. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. A moment passes. Well, you're just standing there. Don't rush me! That's rude! Tommy waves a finger at Techno. Techno rolling his eyes. I got it. I can do it. You really don't have to. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'll kick one! In the head! I'm gonna kick one in the head! Tommy says, taking a few steps forward, then stopping again, and running back to Techno said, You don't have to just stay there. Come on, he yells, pulling at Techno's sleeve. I'm sure I could watch you kick a zombie from here. No, you can't, because you're old! What? And your vision is bad! Technoblade scoffs, pulling his arm away from Tommy's grip, crossing his arms. It is not. Oh, I see, Tommy says suddenly, clapping his hands together. You're scared. You're scared of the zombies. Techno blinks. Yes, I'm terrified of them, he says dryly. Then you are so very lucky that you have me as a friend, because I am so brave, Tommy nods, looking confident, and Techno has to bite his tongue not to outright laugh at that one. Yeah, he grins behind his mask. You're the bravest, I bet. I am! Tommy's face lightens up, and he nods in agreement. So I'll walk with you, since you're so scared of the zombies. I'm such a good friend. Techno tilts his head to the side with a smile. All right, go ahead then. I'll walk behind you. Tommy's face goes a bit sour. No, because you might chicken out. So he reaches out to Techno, grabs at his hand again, and this time holds on tight. Okay, now we go. All right then. Techno waits, and Tommy stares at the wall, face so serious that it feels as if he'd to stare down. Are we gonna walk, or... I'm giving you time to prepare yourself, Tommy says very calmly, and Techno hums. Ah, of course. He squeezes Tommy's hand. Thank you. How thoughtful. Tommy nods, biting at his lip as he stares ahead. Techno gives a light sigh, then starts walking, pulling Tommy gently along with him. Come on. Tommy doesn't say anything in response, only tugging at Techno's hand with wide eyes sticking to his side. They don't get too close to the wall, mostly because Techno's sure that Tommy will immediately back out upon doing so. And also, the smell is horrid. Rotting corpses tend to be like that. Here's good enough, Techno says, keeping a good distance away from the zombies. Tommy can see how tall it is compared to him, but he can't pick out the gross details from here, and Techno thinks that's acceptable. Tommy holds a hand over his mouth, leaning into Techno's side with a grossed out noise. Ew. It is kind of gross. Ew, Tommy says again, slightly muffled behind his hand. You're cheating. You have your mask. I bet you're not even smelling it. Technoblade raises a hand to said mask, and after a second of hesitation, he goes to pull it off his head, instead giving it to Tommy. Pulling it over his face, Tommy pushes at it to keep it in place, the mask being too big for him. There. Now it's fair. Do I look intimidating? Tommy asks, tugging at where he's holding on to Techno's hand. I bet I do. Even more than you. Tommy's curls are a mess, having been disturbed from pulling the mask over his head, and from Techno not having thought to brush it for him this morning. The mask is loose, practically falling off, and his eyes are squinted up at Techno. A weak attempt for a glare. Techno's heart squeezes. You look very, very intimidating, Techno says, and the way Tommy's face lights up in smug satisfaction, it makes Techno give a fond smile.